There's a lot there. I would think that there's been a problem for a few years. I'll say this delicately. The end game for officials is not the WNBA for the group that they have. A lot of them are trying to get into the NBA. They pick the best young ones, especially female ones, to go to the NBA at times. So if you're listen, I think I have the greatest job in the world being the AP's National Women's Basketball writer. There's nothing above this in my mind I'd want to do. If there was, then maybe when I was younger, I wouldn't be doing this anymore, if that makes sense. So I think that's part of the problem. I think Stephanie White made a great comment after the game. She'll probably get fined for it at some point, but the officials should have known from the start of the game that this game could be chippy. There was problems when they played in the past, and set the tone early. Call everything tight so that there isn't the chance for things to escalate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Night interview. Today, we're joined by Doug Feinberg, who covers women's basketball for the AP. And our topic today is the WNBA and the face of the league, Caitlin Clark. And of course, she's in the news again. She gets a lot of attention, as always, and there's a lot to cover, Doug. But before that, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today.
Always my pleasure. And it's always great to talk about the one of the faces of the WNBA.
Yes, yes. Let's first start with the game the other night with the Sun. Lots of pushing and shoving, some flagrant fouls, ejections. It was a little bit more like a WWE match at times than a basketball game. And I think, I've been doing some reading on this, different articles about what happened. I think this is kind of a microcosm of the season for the WNBA. And I know the season is still very young, but a lot of players and coaches alike have been voicing their concerns about the officiating in the league. And it was clear that the other night, the officials let this game get a little out of hand, which I think led to what we saw transpire on the court. Just want to get your opinion on this. Do you feel the WNBA has an officiating problem right now, and what can be done about it?
There's a lot there. I would think that there's been a problem for a few years. I'll say this delicately. The end game for officials is not the WNBA for the group that they have. A lot of them are trying to get into the NBA. They pick the best young ones, especially female ones, to go to the NBA at times. So if you're listen, I think I have the greatest job in the world being the AP's National Women's Basketball writer. There's nothing above this in my mind I'd want to do. If there was, then maybe when I was younger, I wouldn't be doing this anymore, if that makes sense. So I think that's part of the problem. I think Stephanie White made a great comment after the game. She'll probably get fined for it at some point, but the officials should have known from the start of the game that this game could be chippy. There was problems when they played in the past, and set the tone early. Call everything tight so that there isn't the chance for things to escalate. They didn't do that, and obviously we all saw what happened. It escalated. There was technical fouls, ejections, skirmishes, melees, whatever you want to call it. So I'm not putting all the blame on the officials by any stretch. I think that it's a tough job to officiate in the WNBA right now, but it didn't help when they didn't get things under control at the beginning.
Yeah. You mentioned some of the comments with Stephanie White, and I heard some of the press conference with Caitlin Clark. And again, one of the things that I think is losing sight here from this whole incident is, the performance by Caitlin Clark, how she's been playing since returning from injury, the team being in the Commissioner Cup finals. All of the attention, unfortunately, was on the scuffle, the incident that happened on the court. Do you think that hurts the league a little bit, that the attention isn't so much on the performance on the court, but it's about the fiasco that transpired during the game?
I mean, that's part of the problem in the league right now, is that most of the attention they're getting with a lot of new people jumping in and parachuting in is for stuff that isn't about basketball play.
Yeah.
The other day when they beat New York to hand New York its first loss of the season, Indiana did, it was a great game. It was 102-88. Clark was shooting threes from way downtown and her logo shots or normal spots. There's one I remember seeing it and talking to Brianna Stewart afterwards, where she hit one over Stewart from like probably 33 feet. Stewart smiled. That's a great basketball play. There was no like, oh man, I have to go knock her down now because she hit a shot over me. It was just fun basketball.
Yeah.
People aren't talking about that. They're talking about incidents like the other day. They're talking about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, the rivalry there, things of that nature, which is not. Listen, it's a growing league and it's good. Any news is good news, so to speak, or people talking about it.
Right.
But it'd be nicer to see more talk about the court, play on the court. That Indiana made the Commissioner's Cup final for the first time ever. Yeah. Minnesota making it back-to-back years, having a chance to repeat. But that's not what people are talking about right now. And I get it. I understand the world we live in now, but it's kind of sad that that's not the headlines that are being generated. And Clark's comments are like, hey, can we ask basketball questions here? Like, right. I've talked about the flagrant fouls. This is a pretty good basketball game. We're in the Commissioner's Cup final. Let's give that some attention.
Yeah, and to your point about the attention not being on the play so much on the court and the great performances that we've seen, can the league do more to protect Clark and try to put the focus back on the game? I mean, there's talk about race within the game, right? So many of these outside, I guess, distractions, you would call them. Can the league step in and try to, again, protect her in a way to kind of calm the media attention that it's getting? I know some of the fans are upset by it, the way she's treated. Should the league step in here and do a little bit more?
I'm not sure what the league can really do from a fairness standpoint. If you're going to call fouls on her, you're not calling other people, then that's not fair to the other teams, the other 143 players or 155 players. I think that they can call stuff, right? As I said, I think if the officials call a tight game in the first quarter, things don't happen to escalate as much. Listen, let's talk about the melee for a second here. The end game when Sophie Cunningham pulled down JC Sheldon on the break with 46 seconds left in a 20-point game that didn't matter from the scoring standpoint. There's more to it, and I haven't seen this written by many people, to be honest. In their last meeting, Cunningham had a tooth knocked out by Sheldon. It wasn't a oh my God, we had a fight, knocked the tooth out. On the basketball court, things happen. So I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Sophie yet. I don't want to say this is exactly why she did it. I'm sure there's other things too with the Clark incident, but there's some history between Sheldon and Cunningham. Games out of reach. You do a play like that, it doesn't affect anything. You mean get ejected, but 46 seconds left. So you missed, or 41 seconds left. You're missing the end, the last minute.
Yeah.
It's not the ending. Caitlin, I think I saw her jersey sold out. Sophie's jersey sold out within like 12 hours after the game.
Yeah.
So that's Indiana fans being passionate. But as far as your question, what the league can do, I think they can tell officials start calling things quicker. Let's try to clean up the game a little bit, get some of the physicality out of it. But listen, you and I are both old enough to know that back in the 80s and 90s, when the Bulls played the Pistons, the Celtics played the Pistons, the Lakers played the Pistons or Celtics, guys got clotheslined, and it was a common foul. I mean, there's the famous Kurt Rambis getting knocked down. Like, that was basketball back then. People enjoyed watching it. I'm not saying the women should do that. I mean, that was too much back then. Game has changed. But I think that it will all take care of itself down the road. There's enough great basketball teams out there that are showcasing how good they can be. I mean, Nafisa Collier has put up MVP-type numbers right now. No one's really talking about that, but she's been fantastic this year.
Yeah.
So I think the league can do little things to fix it, but I don't think there's a giant, like, if someone blows on Caitlin Clark, it's going to be a foul now. Like, that doesn't solve problems. That creates an inequity that all the players can be upset with.
Yeah, no, I think people, and again, I'm not I don't watch many of the games myself, but I am a huge sports fan and I have an opinion. I think consistency is what people are looking for, as far as the player who body checked Clark was not ejected from the game. And then, later in the game, a similar incident took place and those players were ejected. So I think consistency would help big time. And I want to get back to your point about the 80s and 90s NBA. I totally agree with your point there. I think there's a fine line, though, with the way people are treated on the court. Do you think that the line between just playing good defense and then sending a message to, a young player in the league who's a good player, of course, you want to let her know, give her that welcome to the league type moment. But do you think that it's being crossed at all?
Well, let me say one thing quickly first. They actually upgraded the foul on Mabry yesterday to a flagrant two, so she actually would have been ejected.
Okay.
Had the officials, when they reviewed it, decide to give it a flagrant two, they didn't. It's a technical foul, but she had to pay a fine for it, and
Okay.
the league did the right thing, stepping up and doing that. No suspensions or anything, but they did adjudicate afterwards.
Good to know.
Um, you and I've talked before. I mean, I think the players are smart enough to know, the most of them, that rising tides lift all ships, all
Yeah.
boats. And there's no, I mean, you and I watch sports. The NBA Finals the other day, I think there were two straight Caitlin Clark commercials on the NBA Finals. I don't remember ever seeing that with a women's basketball player before. And it's not like it was random companies. It was State Farm, it was Gatorade, it was Nike. I mean, these are big, big sports backing products and companies there. So people are recognizing her. I think you're right. I mean, there's still a few. I think they're trying to show who this girl is and can she like take the hit as a young player.
Yeah.
But I think that's going away a little more. She she's a great basketball player. She has to work a little bit on her body language after things happen. She's not completely innocent. She's still young.
Yeah.
She got a technical foul for her reaction to getting poked in the eye by JC Sheldon, then getting knocked down by Mabry. But she's a competitor. She's fiery. It's great. That's what people like about her. One of the things they like about her, obviously. So I think there's a lot that she can show and help this league grow in many ways that she has already. But we'll see. I mean, there's still some players that I think are trying to maybe make a name for themselves by, you know, take out the biggest kid in the block in the prison, and you make a name for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that Clark is the biggest name right now in women's basketball. And if you not knock her out, I'm not saying anything like that, but you try to guard her, or maybe you foul her to going for a shot. Wow, that girl's a defender. Or in this case, unfortunately for Sheldon and Mabry, who've been attacked viciously on social media after this whole thing happened, which
Yeah.
is unnecessary and sad in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. But we'll see. They don't play them. I think their next meeting between the two teams is in Boston right before the All-Star break, which should be fun, playing at the Boston Garden and having a chance for 20,000 fans to see them play. And hopefully that game will have some officials on it who know what's going to happen potentially and knock it off before it escalates like we saw the other day.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up, like, her response to some of this, because that is something I wanted to discuss with you. You mentioned maybe she needs to improve her body language. I think I agree with you on that as well. And her being a fiery player, it seems to me, and again, I don't watch all of the games. I see the stuff, the clips on, ESPN and whatnot, but it seems like she's responding a little bit differently this year. She seems to be sticking up for herself a little bit more. We talked about Sophia Cunningham and her, kind of being the enforcer there. Do you see a different version of Caitlin Clark as far as how she's carrying herself on the court and responding to some of the ways that she's being challenged this year?
Yeah, I think she's sticking out for herself a little bit more this year. I mean, she's bigger, stronger, faster, year older in the league. She's gotten some more muscle mass to her, and she looks
Mhm.
really good from the standpoint of being physical herself, being able to take some of these shots, and she's going to the basket, taking the bump, and still being able to finish. And obviously, she can shoot from once she steps to her half court, you have to worry about her hitting the shot.
Yeah.
So I think she stepped up that way. She can fend for herself. And listen, there have been a lot of fiery players in the past. Diane Taurasi was another one who was a
Mhm.
fiery player, who had a really, really good career in the WNBA. She's an all-time leading scorer, won championships. And I think that Caitlin, when all said and done in this league, will have left her mark as one of the greatest players in the history of the sport,
Yeah.
on and off the court. It's just a matter of, she's in year 2. She missed a couple games with a quad injury. They have, I think, 6 games in the next 11 days. So she might get a little more of a break there, because that's a tough schedule for anybody. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think she's going the right direction and will be, I think, a really good player in this league for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get you out of here on this last one. We've talked all about the situation, the attention that Caitlin Clark gets both from media and from her peers on the court. Ultimately, though, do you feel that the treatment she receives from her peers, is it more about the respect they have for her, they know how good she is, or is it more so about the resentment they have for her, maybe a little bit of jealousy and the money she makes from the media? You mentioned the 3 commercials. Is there a little bit of jealousy there, or is it more respect?
Um, I don't want to speculate in the mind of all the players. I
Yeah.
mean, I've talked to some of them about it, not on the record, more off the record, anecdotally. They respect her. There's no
Mhm.
question, and it's hard. How could you not? I mean,
Right.
She's a great basketball player. And it's not just she's a shooter. I mean, if she was just a scorer who could shoot from deep, okay, maybe like she's a selfish player, can score 25 in a game. But that's not the case. She is one of the best, if not the best passer in the league right now,
Yeah.
makes her teammates better. And how could you hate that? If you're leading the league in assists or top two in assists, scoring in the game, making your teammates better, making your team better, that's what you want out of a player. If you don't like that, you don't like basketball, you don't like sports. So I don't think that, I'm sure there's some people who may resent her, but that's more showing them something about themselves. There is definitely respect in the players I talk to, how good she is now, how good she is for the league, and how good she will be for the next decade or two.
Well, that's great insight. That's why we have you on. Doug Feinberg, everybody, AP. He's our go to guy anytime we need some information about the world of women's basketball. And you can catch the Fever back in action on Thursday night against Golden State. So tune in to that. And Doug, as always, we appreciate all your time and all the great information you have for us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, my friend. Always a pleasure.